Yo, guys, what is going on? Welcome back to the locker room. It is a nice Sunday afternoon of the 13th of March, and I just thought I'd whip together another podcast for you guys today. It is going to be a lot of NFL news that we are going to be breaking down and analyzing. I'm going to try and do it in a chronological order, and as well as I do have a quarterback QB rankings for this upcoming draft episode recorded, so that will be dropping probably after this episode of my draft before. I'm not sure. You'll find out. But basically, we're going to start at the timeline of where all the news started last Tuesday at the franchise tag deadline, all the way up until now and what has happened. Mostly the big things, some little things will be shoved in there, but it is mostly going to be the big news that we have all been waiting to see and is finally here. So, to get things started, for the Tuesday morning is when things really started happening, and that was when Aaron Rodgers received his 4-year extension worth $200 million, known as the biggest contract in the NFL. I really didn't think it'd be 4 years. I don't even know if he'll play his full 4 years. I mean, he was thinking about retiring and he's going to be playing another 4 years. I'm not so sure if he will stay, but otherwise, the Packers are obviously in win now mode. I was gonna say, if you don't keep Aaron Rodgers, then you really just got to tank that whole team. And the one biggest thing that they needed to do, in my opinion, was cut Aaron Jones, but they don't really need to do that now. Right now, they just need to go all in. And I think they did that by getting Aaron Rodgers, but they do need to add more pieces in the draft and in free agency if they do have the money to do so. Because as we have seen these past 10 years, Aaron Rodgers is not sure he's the answer, but he is not going to win you a Super Bowl. He did win you one, but it is proven these past couple years that he has not been able to win. So you do need to add more pieces around Aaron Rodgers and able for him to win more games and possibly win that Super Bowl for the Green Bay fans. As I'm sure a friend of mine, Cody, who has been on the podcast before, will be very happy about. Literally, as soon as the news broke, I got a text, Rodgers is staying in the Bay, baby. And yeah, so he was super excited. So good luck to the Packers and Cody, although you guys kind of screwed the Raiders. I'm still kind of upset to that. So the Rodgers deal happened, which led to Davante Adams getting franchise tagged along with Chris Godwin. I was really sad about this because I thought for sure it was like an hour before when this news broke out along with Chris Godwin. When the news broke that Adams franchise tagged, as soon as Rodgers was staying, I'm like, I know he's going to get franchise tagged. But it's just so sad because Davante Adams really could have took the Raiders to the next step and possibly made them a very, very good contender in the AFC. But obviously, the Packers decided to keep him around along with Aaron Rodgers. So the Aaron Rodgers deal ultimately led Davante Adams to not coming to the Raiders. I do believe that if Aaron Rodgers did not stay, I do believe that Davante would have came to the Raiders. I believe that he would have chosen the Raiders out of any other team in the NFL just because he got to play with Derek Carr. But what does worry me is that 4-year deal that Rodgers got is because Davante Adams, he might stay those full 4 years and then he'll be like, 33 years old. And at that point, we don't even know if he'll be a top receiver in the league anymore. So the rate with Rodgers getting that deal, it had Davante Adams' chances of becoming a Raider shot way down, way down. So that's really sad to see. But otherwise, getting paid the top 5 percentage of the wide receivers in the NFL, he absolutely deserves it. I think he is the best receiver in the NFL, so he does deserve that money. And I hope that him and the Packers do have some success because I do think that Davante Adams deserves a ring and some success in the playoffs. Moving on, we got Chris Godwin, who I know a lot of Lions fans were upset about because he's coming off a torn ACL, but second time for franchise tag by Tampa. But I know the Lions did really want him. A lot of Lions fans are like, let's bring Chris Godwin in. This is probably the one signing that really shocked me, or the one franchise tag that shocked me. I did not think that he was going to be available, but they did not let him hit the mark, or I did not think that they would franchise tag him. And sure enough, they did. He is not going to be able to hit the market in free agency, get paid big. Sure, he's getting top 5 receiver money, but as of well, I'm not sure he's happy with that because at his age, he's going to want a long-term deal along with Davante Adams. So Godwin gets tagged. It would have been cool to see him play with another team without the Bucks, but I do like this because I'm a big Kyle Trask guy. I think Kyle Trask could be a good quarterback in the NFL. He was a Gator, so that sure gives me some bias. But I do think that he could be a good quarterback in the NFL. So only having Chris Godwin there, if he does play most of the season coming off that torn ACL, I think Chris Godwin could be a big help helping out them Kyle Trask and the Bucks, possibly even make the playoffs because sure, it's a downgrade, but I have faith in Kyle Trask. I think he can get the job done learning under Tom Brady these past years. I do think that is a possible solution for the Tampa Bay. As now, going to get into some more little news. The Titans go ahead and re-sign Harold Landry, who was a Cardinal a couple of years ago. He had a pretty good year, and his contract shows it gets re-signed for 5 years, $87.5 million. I'm not going to say he deserves it, but he kind of does deserve it. He's been a very dominant pass rusher these past couple of years in the NFL. So the Titans re-sign him, and it's only going to help that defensive line improve and that pass rush improve, which is already pretty dominant. So they get to keep that stabilized there in Tennessee. Excuse me. Now is the biggest part of the entire episode, I would say. I didn't want to save this to the end, but I did want to do this in chronological order or whatever time when it happened. And that was Russell Wilson getting traded to the Denver Broncos. And this is where like free agency for the Raiders just, but I do have some hot take thoughts here. Russell Wilson is a phenomenal quarterback. We are not going to deny that. But I don't really know who won this trade because you think about it, the Broncos do get a quarterback that will help them make a push into the playoffs. People are calling them Super Bowl contenders. I'll get into my thoughts on that. But the Seahawks got 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, Drew Lock, Noah Fant, and Shelby Harris, along with the 5th-round pick. Everyone's going crazy like they won the lottery. Like, sure, you get 2 first-round picks, but those could be easily bust, showing the Seahawks drafting these past couple of years. They have had 2 Pro Bowlers with their last 65 draft selections. That is god-awful. And then they're going crazy about Noah Fant. Noah Fant's nothing special. He's a solid tight end, but he is not a game-breaking tight end that can absolutely change the game. I mean, sure, he's got talent, but he did not show it off in Denver. Maybe he can show it in Seattle, but he's still going to have the same quarterback with him if they do not sign someone else. So all this hype about Noah Fant, I don't get. Drew Lock, I think, is the underwhelming piece in this, or not the underwhelming, the underrated piece in this trade, because I think Drew Lock could be an average NFL quarterback in that Seattle Seahawks system, because this guy is a heck of an athlete. And if he gets a chance, I think he could be a mediocre quarterback. Maybe he'll be, in my opinion, he'd be a 25-20 if he does get to play. It's kind of a hot take. Most people are pretty low on Drew Lock, but he is a heck of an athlete, and revolving around that athletic Seattle system that does have you stay in the pocket, allow you to get outside, having more of a deep pass type of system. The Seahawks are definitely a good landing spot for him so he can escape and show his athletic ability, unable of like he was able to show with the Broncos. And he gets to work with a better coach than Vic Fangio. He gets to work with Pete Carroll, who's hot take. Could be gone after a couple of years. You never know. But then you get Shelby Harris. Nothing special about him. He is a solid D lineman and mediocre to, he's pretty good. Mediocre to good lineman, but nothing special. And then the Broncos got a 4th-round pick. The biggest part of the deal was the 4th-round pick. Then they just got some guy named Russell Wilson thrown in there. So, yeah. But being all real, Russell Wilson could potentially lead them to a Super Bowl. But even with the Russell Wilson addition, you now have some holes on the team. I think Jerry Jeudy is heavily overrated. Sure, he did not have good quarterbacks throwing to him, but he still did not look the greatest. You have a giant hole at the tight end position. Your offensive line is not great. You do get a very, very good NFL quarterback along with Courtland Sutton, who is more of the DK Metcalf, while Jerry Jeudy's the Tyler Lockett. But then you have an amazing running back in Javonte Williams, who I think will be phenomenal this year. But what's really crazy to me is Sure, Russell Wilson was injured this year, but you had Matthew Stafford last year, who was only traded for 2 first-round picks and Jared Goff. While you have Russell Wilson, who was worse this year than Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford won a Super Bowl. Russell Wilson by far had the worst season. Sure, he got hurt, but when he was on the field, Matthew Stafford was still out playing him. And the Broncos gave up a lot more to the Seahawks than the Rams gave to the Lions for Matthew Stafford. So that's really interesting to me. Sure, that the Russell Wilson has had more success in his career, but based on last year, Matthew Stafford won a Super Bowl. So it's kind of weird to see how you can have a down year, but then Russell Wilson still got all this more trade value than Matthew Stafford did. But interesting. It sure does make the Broncos a lot better team, although I still don't think they're a Super Bowl team at all. I think they're a playoff team. Not sure if they're a Super Bowl team. All the Super Bowl hype, I think, is getting thrown in, pretty much getting blown in the air. I don't think it's that they're that far in their stage. Yes, sure, they got Bradley Chubb has been injured. You have a pretty solid secondary. You've got Patrick Surtain, who is great. Bryce Callahan, who is a free agent this year. And then your safeties, you have Justin Simmons, who is really great. And then you have, I forgot his name, but he is a really old safety, Kareem Jackson. But I think he is hitting free agency as well. But he is a very old safety, so you do have a hole at the strong safety spot. When Bradley Chubb is healthy, he is phenomenal at that edge rusher spot. And then you ship away Shelby Harris, who is one of your best D linemen. So not sure if you're quite a Super Bowl team, but you are definitely a playoff team. So I think this trade, if I had to pick a winner, I would probably give it to the Broncos, just considering the Seahawks draft history and getting Drew Lock and some pieces that don't really help you win and don't build you for the future. Sure, Drew Lock is not going to be the answer. Noah Fant could possibly. Shelby Harris is getting up there in age. With the Broncos, you are definitely a playoff team, and if you add a little bit more pieces, you are definitely a Super Bowl team. So that's why I give this to the Broncos. Which leading to the Seahawks kind of going into a rebuild, pretty much establishing the rebuilding process. That led to them releasing their all-pro linebacker, Bobby Wagner. And I am really mad at the Seahawks for this, not because they released him, just because they didn't even tell him they were releasing him. He found it out from the press himself, which for all that he has done for the Seahawks organization, to where he just finds out on the internet. I mean, that's terrible after all he did for them, how good he was, won them a Super Bowl. I believe he did. Not sure. Don't correct me on that in the comments, but he has been unreal for the Seahawks, and the fact that they kind of just disrespected him right that it's kind of sad. As the Seahawks are an L organization, in my opinion. Yeah, Garrett, they're an L organization if you're listening to this. But Bobby Wagner was really saving a lot of money in the cap. And who knows, maybe he'll get signed to a team. Probably will, and be a pretty good linebacker, in my opinion. As we move on to the next day, where Carson Wentz gets shipped to the Washington Commanders. Still good use of that. Kind of weird to say, but Wentz to the Commanders. I mean, the thing with Carson Wentz is I've been a big Carson Wentz believer, and as soon as he got shipped to the Colts last year, I was like, okay, this is going to be the year for Carson Wentz. But it's like, sure, he was solid, but he was not sure, they had a great team, and they cannot win with him. So I am officially done with Carson Wentz. I thought if there was one person in the entire league who could bring him back to like 2017 Carson Wentz or good Carson Wentz form, it would be Frank Reich. But Frank Reich did not do that, and he's clearly shipped him off right away. He was loving Carson Wentz last year when they got him, shipped him off. There must be a serious problem with him in his quarterback play. So I am off the Carson Wentz train. There was one person that could have fixed him. It would have been Frank Reich, but he obviously did not do that. But the Commanders shipping off, sure, quarterback's the most important position, but you're shipping off a third-round pick, 2 third-round picks, one could potentially be a second, depending on how much Wentz plays. But it's like, I think the Colts, when we see who they draft, they could potentially win this trade because of how good they are drafting in the mid-rounds while Wentz is a solid quarterback, I don't think he'll be a winnable quarterback that the Commanders can win with. I do not think that he is a bigger upgrade than Taylor Heinicke. Sure, he's an upgrade, but he's not just shipping away 2 third-round picks, a potential second-round pick upgrade over Taylor Heinicke. So that's why I'm going to give the trade win to the Colts here. And now we have, if the offseason couldn't get any worse for the Raiders so far, old Raider legend Khalil Mack gets shipped to the Bears a couple of years ago. Raiders looked like they won the trade. Khalil Mack, sure, played pretty well, but not like the amount that they gave up. Sure, the Raiders did get Josh Jacobs out of that, but now he's shipped to the Chargers, giving up a second and a sixth. Khalil Mack, along with Joey Bosa, like, it's just so crazy because we saw what Khalil Mack on one side of the line helped Robert Quinn do, getting like 18.5 sacks. Now, one of them is going to be getting all the focus on one of the sides of the lines. And it's either, I believe it will be Joey Bosa. So I think that Khalil Mack could have an absolute stud of the year and possibly be that defensive player of the year that we once knew. And sure enough, he still kind of is that form. Sure, he's aging up there. I think he's around 30. But Khalil Mack to the Chargers, it's only going to get that defense better. I definitely think that this only elevates them in the playoff conversation, as they only gave away not even a first round, a second and a sixth. Sure, I think this was a good trade for the Bears too. You get a second round pick, but with your draft history, I'm not sure if that's going to go too well along with a sixth. So I'm going to give this trade win to the Chargers, just considering of the all-pro pass rusher that they are getting in Khalil Mack. Moving on, later that day, this might have been after. I think that this extension happened before the Khalil Mack trade, but these next two have actually happened before the Khalil Mack trade. So let me write that down real quick. Those two happened before the Khalil Mack trade, as Maxx Crosby linked up with the Raiders, getting a 4-year extension worth $98 million around that area, around that money worth. But I love it. Maxx Crosby around here another 4 years. Super excited about it. He is definitely that big key piece to the defense. Him and Yannick Ngakoue have been probably one of the biggest reasons why we got to the playoffs last year. We're keeping him around. Totaled for over 100 total pressures, had around 9.5 sacks. Maxx Crosby is an absolute monster off the edge. I think he can only improve with this new defensive coordinator and Patrick Graham. So love the signing and addition to keep Maxx Crosby around. And then a huge news that we have been waiting to hear for a little bit of while now, for over a year. Deshaun Watson will be back next year in the NFL. He does not face criminal charges off his court dates or whatever happened in court. He is back. I saw a report that he is reportedly allowed to meet with teams now, like starting today. So he's reportedly meeting with the Panthers, Saints, and it was one other team that I remember, but I know it was the Panthers and the Saints, which if both of them got him, it would be a huge addition to both their teams. It could immediately make them playoff contenders, which would be absolutely awesome. And another team, it was just Saints and Panthers. That was it. Just Saints and Panthers. So allowing Deshaun Watson, if he goes to the Panthers, I think they're immediate super playoff. I wouldn't call them Super Bowl contenders, but they are immediate playoff contenders. And then even with the Saints, they have a very solid, very, very, very solid roster. So playoff contenders then there, but not quite Super Bowl contenders. You do need to fix some pieces, re-sign, get some more players in free agency for both those teams to make them playoff contenders. But really affects the football world and the fantasy world is Deshaun Watson, who is one of the best quarterbacks in the past 5 years when he was playing. It's very nice to see him be able to get back onto the field and possibly be a top quarterback again in the NFL. So that's going to be very fun to see fantasy-wise and just watching him play-wise. As moving on to Saturday news, around 1-2 p.m., Amari Cooper got shipped off to the Browns. That poor man there. For a 4th and 6th round pick, while the Browns also get a fifth round pick. Amari Cooper, he was complaining about playing with Dak, playing with Derek Carr. Oh boy, can't wait till that man gets to play play with Baker Mayfield. Don't draft Amari Cooper in fantasy. Baker Mayfield's so trash. He is like my 28th quarterback ranked of coming off the end of last season. I do not think Baker Mayfield is good at all. Browns with their quarterbacks have not been good, but Baker Mayfield has taken in good wide receivers and just made them trash. And we have seen what happens with Odell. Went to the Rams and was playing phenomenal. Jarvis Landry, who was playing with the Dolphins at a very high level, goes to the Browns and starts playing terrible. So I think Amari Cooper will not have a great season just because of the fact he is playing with the Browns and Baker Mayfield. So I'm going to give this win to the Browns because they are getting Amari Cooper. But I don't. Right now, I'll give it to the Browns considering that they do get Amari Cooper, but I do not think that in the long run it will work out in the Browns' favor, as Baker Mayfield is that trash quarterback that we know him. And pretty much just one final announcement that pretty much affects the whole, it's not really NFL news, but baseball is finally back. We've gotten some signings. Baseball is happening. Really fun. So that is very fun to see as baseball. We'll be getting into some more baseball content on the podcast possibly. So you guys just let me know if you want to see that. But we've gone through and linked down all the NFL news. So that's pretty much going to be it for the episode, guys. So I hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure you drop a like, drop a comment, who your favorite team is and who you want them to get in free agency, as free agency is starting tomorrow. You can negotiate tomorrow. So as I said, drop a like, drop a comment. Make sure you subscribe, turn on the notification bells. Make sure that you can watch all our episodes when they come out. Make sure you go follow our TikTok at @thelockerroom_PO, as well as follow me on Twitter, Landon.Mitchelson, and Instagram, Landon.Mitchelson. So, yeah. Oh, and make sure you go subscribe to the We're Not Professionals podcast. They are a big supporter of me, and I'm a big supporter of them. So make sure you go subscribe to them. So that's pretty much going to be the end of the episode. Hope you guys enjoy, and we will catch you in the next one. Peace out, everyone.